Okay, if you guys want to check in and say howdy hi, I'll throw you up on the screen. Hey, I've spent the first couple years of my life in South Bend. I was born in Gary. Hey. Hello, everybody. Yep, get rid of that stuff. How's everybody doing out there in, I guess, electronic land? So let me just get into my next slide here. First off, I just want to, we're going to welcome expert Danny Ranner from SoftStartRV. I'm Mike Sokol from RV Electricity. You guys know me from all my variety of things that I've done, right? And I also would like to thank rvtravel.com for supporting this webcast and promoting it all week. So let us know where you saw this from. Can I save this? Yes, you're going to be able to see this later. You can see this as many times until you're sick to death of us. So not to worry. Okay, so I'm going to bring in Danny right now. So Danny, there you go. You should be hot to go. So let's just say howdy hi to all the people out there. Man, I got a lot of people online already. Wow.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay, so Danny, where you're located right now, where it's cold, are you not?
Yes, I am located in El Paso, Texas,
So you
where it
said it
is
was.
presently cold.
I'm just up in Maryland, not so bad. Trying to stay warm here, but all good so far. So everybody says, have a good night, stay warm. Warm wishes to everybody out there, warm wishes. Um, okay, so let's go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to take questions on here. First off, I'm going to start up a PowerPoint. I'm going to explain a little bit about what a soft start RV is. And we're going to see what kind of questions we got. And then Danny's got some PowerPoint slides up here. He can discuss about it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it, and then I'm going to put it back to Danny, and then we're going to go take your questions. So first off, SoftStart RV, you guys may remember this. This actually got me interested about 6 months ago into actually building a really unique test device, which I call a hurdle and a high rate data logger. I use my audio background plus my calibration background when I used to build nuclear guidance systems, plus all my other weird backgrounds. And so I built a device that would allow me to log data at a very, very high rate. In fact, this one I'm able to do at 192,000 times a second, down to 1 part per million accuracy. And with that, I was able to create this really, really interesting graph. And you can see I came up with all of this. This is not some artist's idea. This is me actually drawing this stuff out, right from the data. So a regular RV compressor, a standard 13,000, 13.5 or 15K, something in that order, will have right around a 52 amp peak current with a stock capacitor. That's just to kind of bump it to get the thing started. And that has a number of problems because it can cause generators to kick out. It can cause circuit breakers that are close to the limit to trip. And so SoftStart RV, when you install it, if you look at the yellow line on the graph, it has a much slower ramp up. So instead of a 52 amp peak, it's like a 24 amp peak current. You can notice this is only a tiny fraction of a second. 150 milliseconds is like faster than you can blink. Same way with 330, that's about a third of a second. Less than a tick-tock. So this thing does this anytime it starts up. It does this slower ramp up so you don't hear it do a big bump, but it will allow you to run generators off, air conditioners off of smaller generators. So now I'm going to back up a shot here and get Danny back in. I say hello from Canada. Lava light. Yes, everybody loves the lava lamp in the background. Sorry to distract you. So Danny, what else can you tell us about general operation of SoftStart RV?
Well, as far as operation, it does, yes, it allows you to run off of the lower amperage. Therefore, you have no problem running both your ACs anymore off of a 30 amp breaker. Um, it's it's something that RVs have needed for many, many years, and I was really happy when I saw this come along. So I'm looking forward to questions.
Okay, so tell them a little bit about your history, your background, and all of this sort of thing. How did you get here?
Well, I've got a background as a manufacturing engineer, 45 years. I've made everything, spent 30 years making your water heater and furnace controls for both residential, commercial, and RVs. I spent several years making rare earth magnetic drives and various other devices with extremely strong magnets. And then 7 years actually with Dometic as senior manufacturing engineer over all AC and marine refrigeration lines. And from Dometic, I went to work for the government, um, senior engineer, making instructions on how to assemble, disassemble, and disarm anti-tank bombs. So that's pretty much my background.
Fun stuff. Okay, so
Yes.
if you guys have questions, go ahead and send them over, and then I'll be glad to pop them up here. I've got a bunch of just general stuff happening here, but send a question over. Um, so I guess now I've installed one of these on a Dometic. What is it, Penguin 2K, I guess, on my
The
back porch here, and I'm doing it down on the ground. How complicated do you think this is for the average person to do?
This is extremely easy. There are only, it doesn't matter what air conditioner it is, there's only going to be 6 steps. I always tell people if you can count from 1 to 6, and if you can differentiate the 5 colors, it should only take you, it's going to take you longer to get your wires pulled into your electrical box and crimp. What I use is disconnect fittings, going to take you longer to get that in the box than it will to do the main install. That should only take you about 5 minutes maximum.
Okay, one of the things that I've used on mine, and I see a number of the manufacturers are doing it, is something that's called those WAGO connector. There's little lever action connectors. Um, I tend not to like the twist nut stuff. I mean, we do that a lot, but what do you guys recommend for hookup in your installs?
I recommend using the spade connectors, which is
Okay,
what's located on your wires currently.
okay,
That way, there is. Uh, I prefer not to cut wires. And if you've got a unit that is under warranty, I refuse to let you cut wires. That's why I try to use the same thing that they do. Um, and this way, if something goes wrong with your AC, and you need to replace your AC in a matter of about 3 minutes, you can have your soft start out. And if something was to go wrong with the soft start, um, I can have you back to factory settings. Like I said, 3 to 5 minutes. You still have an air conditioner until you get hold of me, and I can get you a new one shipped out to you.
okay, Danny. I got a couple questions here. So one is, it says, can you spell the type of connectors you recommend?
Yes, these are called uh, spade connectors. Uh, you can pick these up. I know your kit comes with them, but right now we've got a couple kits out there. The old way of doing it, they did use splice connectors, which meant you cut wires. Then when I started, we went to these connectors, and for $3, Lowe's carries these things. It's called a 1210 because you've got a 12 gauge wire. So it's a 1210 male female disconnect package with 16 of these connectors in a package for $3.
Okay,
Lowe's
so now,
carries them, Home Depot carries them.
okay, so I've got one here from Trevor. I purchased a soft start. I have a 15,000 BTU air conditioner on my micro mini Winnebago. What size generator would I need to power it?
What size?
It's a 15K.
H, what, A 15K?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. You can run off a small, it depends on your preference, because with the smaller generators, what you're going to do is, yes, you can run it off of a small generator, but you really, I mean, if you're only after AC, maximum I would say would be 2,800 watt, just to be safe. That gives you a little bit of bumper there. You can go down, and a 2,200 watt would run it, but you've got to remember the only thing you're going to be able to run is your AC. So I always tell people, don't undersize yourself. And before we're done here, we can give my personal email out, and I can send you a little thing that I've made, and all you've got to do is plug in this, and it will give you. You plug in and you say what your starting amps are on, or watts are on a compressor, and what your running amps are, and that would pretty much tell you what you can run um, off of a generator.
Well, Danny, if you send that to me, I'll go ahead and post it right up on this page. And anybody
Okay.
that wants it can get it. How's that?
Well, it's a Excel file.
Right. Well, we're not going to do it right now. We'll do it at the end. Okay. I got a ton
Gotcha.
of questions. Let's keep rolling here. So,
Okay.
George Pennington, what is the difference between the Soft Start RV and the Micro Air Soft Start? What's the difference in operation between those two?
Okay. As far as operation, there's not a whole lot of difference there. But the difference between the Micro Air and the Soft Start RV is they've got a four-wire system. They end up cutting more. They cut quite a few wires, and twist them together, where we do not. It's ours is an easier install, because, like I said, I'm not cutting wires.
One of the things that I've also noted, the Micro Air does require you to go through a learning curve and start the thing up
Yes.
like 5 times in a row. Where a Soft Start RV has a built-in curve that you just turn it on and it works.
Okay,
Um,
with the Soft Start RV, what I tell people to do, when I go through the thing, is I ask you when you first, um, get ready after you do your install. I tell you in the instructions to turn your fan on high, and all's that, and then all's I'm doing with that is that tells you you do have power up on your AC, because we do not touch anything in the wiring that would affect your fans. So if your fan's not working, you've done something that you shouldn't have. I only show you the wires that you're going to touch. That way, it takes confusion out of it. So anyway, I tell you, turn your fan on high. As soon as you hear the fan on high, that means you're good to go. And then you set your thermostat to auto cool, turn it down as low as it'll go. You go back up, you look at your soft start, you got a green light, you're good to go. You could close everything up, and let it run the thermostat up to near ambient temperature, let it run for 30 minutes, and you're good to go from then on. Now, another thing with the soft start, some units go into a 3-minute test mode. Not all, but some of them do. So if you go up there and you don't immediately see any lights, I tell you, wait a full 3 minutes. After 4 minutes, if you don't have a green light, then you call me and we'll go over it and get you going.
okay, now very good. So Patrick asks, if you do not have a soft start, how long will the RV AC last with a 30 amp system? Uh, if you do not have a soft, I have a 2018 Coachman 2. I'm not sure what does that mean. You mean in terms of longevity? Patrick, if you'll respond a little better, I'm not quite sure what that means. Do you, Danny? I'm kind of
Well, I think he's worried about it. I mean, huh. Uh, my parents have a Class C that has a brisk unit on it that is probably 25 years old, and it still works like the day it came off the showroom. So, but the thing is, it still has the loud thunk.
Can
With
you,
the soft start RV, you don't get that knock.
right. And if you go back to the graphic that I did, that first jump is when you're kind of hammering on the compressor as opposed to kind
Yep.
of like a whoosh. And I looked at it as like instead of like revving up your car and just dropping it into gear, it's more like an automatic transmission where it's just like smooths the thing up over about a third of a second.
I've actually had customers tell me, it's a funny story. I had a gentleman that installed it on a Dometic brisk unit, and they're notorious for having that loud knock. And this gentleman was actually standing over the top of the unit and told his wife, turn it on. And he says, didn't come on. And I said, do you have a green light? And yeah. I said, green light means your compressor is running. Your unit is running. He says, no, I didn't hear it come on.
Right.
I said, reach down and touch the tube. And he said, my goodness. He says, the blower motor is now louder than the compressor.
Yeah.
So it makes a huge difference.
I noticed this with the thing running down on a pair of sawhorses right beside me. And the only way that I can tell if the compressor is on or off is I'm just looking at the amperage draw on one of my meters. Uh, okay, so, oh, here's another one. Here's a good question. So, George Pennington, is there a difference in the units for different ACs? Or is it pretty much one unit and you just wire them up differently?
It's the same unit, but depending on your AC, um, it would be a different diagram. That's why I've got 36 different schematics. Most of them I've got five of them that are or not brisk, but Dometic units. The rest of them are all Coleman, and I've got a Marine, and then I've got three. GE's got one, Atwood's got one, and Carrier. But to your answer now, here's the thing: if you've got a Coleman unit, um, you take your outside shroud, you take the shroud off, find your electrical box, and inside the lid of that electrical box, there's going to be a yellow schematic on one of the bottom corners. There's going to be a 1976. There can be a letter anywhere from A to E, and possibly even beyond, and then three numbers. That would give me the exact schematic you've got. If it's one that I don't have, if you send me a picture of that schematic, I will draw you the schematic and get it to you ASAP. It usually takes me about an hour to draw one, but then once I give you the schematic and you're ready to do this, I ask if you were to call me. I will be more than happy to walk you through it step by step. That way, it you're not so intimidated by it. I'm going to lead you exactly what you've got to do. The most important thing you've got to remember when you do this is there are wire. You've got a white compressor wire. You must follow that to your electrical box, to the run capacitor, because you've got white fan wires there. And if you get the wrong white wire, your fan can come on, but your compressor won't come on because you didn't get the right wire. But so other than that, from then on, it's pretty straightforward. It's very simple, which we'll get here and can show you one of the most basic schematics so that you would understand how this goes.
Okay, so let me do a couple more questions and then we'll throw one of your schematics up. How does that sound?
Sounds
So
good.
Patrick, he says, yes, he was talking about the longevity of it. I know a lot of people have asked me if it helps an air conditioner compressor last longer, and I say it can't hurt because there's less stress on it. But again, I don't know of any actual studies that show whether this, lets a compressor last longer or not.
It should. It's got to, because it's not getting slammed
Right.
with the giant jolts that it normally would. Therefore, it should in all aspects make it last longer.
That's, everything that I know about compressors and physics and engines um, kind of hints at that. People say, well, why don't you set up a test to run it? And I'm going, you know how many hours I'd have to run stuff like that to know? Okay,
Well, let
so
me put
yeah.
it this way. It's like that's why you've got surge protectors. Surge protectors are there to stop that sudden mega jolt of power coming in, because it does shorten the life of electronics. And your soft start acts like a surge protector.
Okay, so I'm gonna one other question here, and then we're gonna go to the schematics here. So this is Mike Zimmerman, Mike Z, one of the mics here on my RV electricity group. So he's asked, can you ask Danny to explain in a little bit of detail how and why? And he's talking about the micro air unit. Why do they go through a few learning cycles? Yours does not, but why do they have to go through this learning cycle stuff? Do you know?
That I don't know, other than their electronics that they've got in there. I've never, well, I've actually installed one for a guy, even though it's my competitor. The gentleman was in trouble, so I helped him install it. Um, but they must have something in their system that requires it to learn to see. I don't know how it does that, but ours, no, we don't.
Okay. So now you want me to put up one of these slides? Which one would you like me to put
Sure,
up for you?
sure. Let's put the brisk up. This way people understand. I want to, oops, I want to explain something to them. Okay, uh, this is probably the easiest way to explain things on there, um, because so you all compressor. I tell people all compressors have three wires. You've got an R, which stands for run. You've got an S for start, and then your C. Your R always goes to the C of your run capacitor, the common on your run capacitor. The S always goes to the start or the Herm side of your run capacitor. And then your common, your compressor wire is that goes down into, normally would go down into down into the cabinet. Um, but as you'll see when I go to the next slide, that it's different. So this one is showing you always first step is follow your white compressor wire to your run capacitor. All you do is disconnect it off the C terminal on the run capacitor. You put a male fitting on your blue soft start wire and plug it into it. Then you go. Then when we're done, I would ask you to put electrical tape when we're done. After we're done testing the unit, your second step is you take your black soft start wire, you put a female fitting on that, and you put it on the terminal the white wire came off of. Step three, you've got a yellow soft start wire that you would put over on a Herm terminal next to your red compressor wire. Now, units like the Brisk do not have start capacitors 99.9% of the time. But should it have a second red wire next to your red compressor wire, that would be an indication you would have a start capacitor. All you do is simply disconnect that wire You tape it and drop it. Then so that would be step 4. If you don't have that second red wire, you skip step 4. Step 5 on this brisk unit, you would find your blue compressor wire, and at the top of your compressor, go down. It's say 10 inches or just where you're safe, so you've got some room from the top of the compressor. And if you're out of warranty, I say, okay, you could cut that wire. On that blue wire that goes back up to the compressor, you would put a female fitting. On the other end of the blue that you just cut, you put a male. Your brown soft start wire, you put a male on that. That connects to the blue wire that goes to the top of the compressor. Your red soft start wire gets a female. That connects to the blue that goes down into your cabinet. Now, the reason I do this is, should something go wrong with your AC, you want to pull your soft start out. It takes you 3 minutes to disconnect these fittings, and you've got your soft start in your hands. The other thing it does is, should something go wrong with the soft start, I can have you go back over your steps and take your blue wire and your white wire, take that apart, pull the black wire off, put your white wire back where the black one just was, pull your yellow soft start wire off, take and disconnect your red and brown soft start wires from your blue wire, and you just plug your blue wire back together. Now, Coleman uses a white, red, and black. So it would be, and then I also have a chart that one of these days I can give to show. But the most common are your red, white, and blue. Dometic likes to call that the patriotic wires. Coleman uses typically red, white, and black. So this just shows you how simple it is to do this. And on the schematic, you can see I show you the fittings that it requires and how many it should take. But now, if you've got a unit that is in warranty, what I would do is have you take the cap off the top of the compressor. You disconnect your blue wire from the overload, and instead of putting a male fitting on your brown soft start wire, you would put a female fitting. So you put the wire in, crimp the wire, and then bend that female fitting at say a 45. The reason why, if you don't, it stands too tall and you can't get the cap back on. But then you put a male fitting on your red soft start wire, and all you do is simply plug it into your blue compressor wire, tape it up, and that way you have cut no wires. And so a unit that is in warranty, I will not allow you to cut a wire.
Okay, you want to go back and take a few more questions?
Yes.
Okay. So let's see here. Okay, so here's one I think I might be able to help answer. And Michael Bracewell, another Michael, the travel trailer guy. I have a 2016 13.5 BTU air conditioner unit on our travel trailer. Would a 2,000 watt when inverter generator be able to operate the AC with the soft start? Thank you. And I think you had talked about that. Yeah, you can probably get away with a 2K, but it all comes down to, do you want to run other stuff at the same time, becomes the issue.
Okay, here's another thing with that. Yes, you can run that on there, but here's what you've got to keep in mind with the small one like that is, for every 1,000 feet you go above sea level, you will lose 3.5% efficiency in the generator. Also, high temperature. causes your gases in your AC to want to expand, and then the amps drive up, therefore making it a little bit harder to get going. The other thing with the smaller generators, you've got to be a little bit more disciplined. You've got to make sure that you've got good gas in there all the time. So I would suggest after you're using it, say you used it for a weekend, I would drain the gas out of there. I would run the generator until the carburetor runs out of gas.
I run them dry.
Yep, you got to run them dry.
Oh, you'll like this. Here's your follow-up question here. My Honda EU 2200i struggles to run my 13.5 BTU air conditioner at 4,000 feet and 100 degrees Fahrenheit degree day with a soft start.
Yep.
There you go. The higher you get up, unless you've got a turbocharger on that thing or fuel injection.
Well, you would have to. The only way you can do that is I actually had a gentleman that said, I spend a lot of my time up alpine camping. He was in Utah. He says, I spend it at over 6,000 feet. I said, well, the only thing you can do then would be to rejet your generator, the carburetor. And I said, but then you're going to have that same issue when you go down to the flatlands, because then you're going to be running too rich. So the thing is, with that right there, I would suggest cleaning, have the carburetor cleaned, but then you've still got to remember you've got that altitude working against you.
Okay, here's a quickie. I have a road trek. Would this work? I guess it depends what you have for an air conditioner, right?
You know what? And this is what, it doesn't matter. All air conditioners, like I said, all air conditioners have a compressor. All air conditioners have a run capacitor. Not all air conditioners have start capacitors, but that really doesn't matter. Now, another thing to throw in here, people ask all the time, well, I've got a heat pump. This will not affect your heat pump operation at all, because we do not touch any of the wiring for your heat pump. Other than just so that some people know. Now, Coleman sometimes uses the start capacitor as the common for their reversing valve on their heat pump. But all we're doing is taking the positive wire off there and disabling the start capacitor that way.
Okay, so here's a good one. Very straightforward questions. Dave Lambert, does the installation of the soft start decrease the full load cooling of the air conditioner unit at steady state?
It does not affect the anything as far as the cooling at all.
I know you can see within Hurdle, the only thing that it's working on is that first quarter or half a second. And after it's up to running, that thing's out of the circuit completely. It's your air conditioner is your air conditioner.
Okay, now here's another thing that people kind of need to know. Your air conditioners as of 2012. Now 2011 we started. We used to use R22. R22 is a fantastic refrigerant. We switched over to R410A. R410A does not cool as well. Therefore, it gives you, sometimes it can give you the feeling that it is not cooling as well, and that would be because of the refrigerant. It has nothing to do with the compressor. The compressors were all changed to run that refrigerant, but it is just the nature of the beast.
Okay, so here's another interesting one. I would also surmise the SoftStartRV would also work on a home air conditioner unit. Is that correct?
That is correct. We actually have a residential soft start that is built for the home air conditioners.
I know a number of my readers out in California have thought about this for home air conditioners because they've had rolling blackouts, during
Correct.
a lot of the fire issues that they've had out there, and they have to install some sort of a portable generator, and they're worrying about creating what can they do to create a safe haven, especially if you have a senior citizen that can't stand the heat,
Yep.
and I know that's what they're looking for.
Yes. We do make one. I have not to this point installed any, but it would install exactly the same way.
The compressor's a compressor, isn't it? Pretty much.
Compressor's the compressor. Like I said, I install them on Marine. Um, I've installed them. There is one. Well, it like I said, all ACs have a compressor. All of them have a run capacitor. It would work.
Okay, so Bob asks, we just ordered an Alliance RV. It has three 13.5 B2 air units, AC units. Would it make sense to put the soft start on all three of them?
Yes, you have to.
Yeah,
You need one on each. You need one on each AC. Otherwise, you're really defeating your purpose. Because you would still have one that's going to require that extra bit of power to get it going, and it's going to drive your amps up, and therefore you wouldn't do it. So with the soft start on there on all three of them, they're going to be able to run. I mean, it's going to get them up going and maintain them at an optimal running amperage. Like he's saying, in just a few tenths of a second.
So here, and I can answer this one. Where can you buy these SoftStartRV units? Down in the comments section, I actually include a link to a discounted page that you can that you go ahead and purchase them. But these are not sold in any kind of camping stores or anything, I believe, right? They're strictly
No,
online.
they're strictly right now online. There are some RV repair dealers that are now selling these. Um, they do charge. My service, you can go you'll see a phone number if you go into the Soft Start RV webpage, and you'll see a phone number, a 915 number there, area code. That is my personal number. I tell people my phone is on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Um, it doesn't, don't feel bad about calling me. This is my passion. I want to see people get these installed properly. I've camped all my life. Nothing ruins a trip more than when things don't go wrong. So I want to make sure you get this installed properly. I will take care of you. I answer to special requests. I actually received a request from a gentleman kind of late one night. He had a new type of AC out there that I even went on while we were talking, had gone into the manufacturer's webpage. They had absolutely nothing on this air conditioner. They had no schematics on his unit. This thing looked like a styrofoam ice box with a packing strap wrapped around it. But in his book, it said if you touch that packing strap, you void your warranty. The only thing you could see that was an air conditioner was the top cap of the air conditioner. That's the only reason why you knew that, and the coil in the back. And the one in the front too. But his electrical box, I said, do me a favor, take a picture of your electrical box and send it to me. The reason I did this is that this special request is the gentleman's wife was going through cancer, and it was her dying request to go camping one last time. And so I had to get that because that kind of hit home. I've been down that road, so I understood the need for that. Um, so we worked on that unit until 12:30 that night. I asked him. I said, "Well, if you can go to a hardware store in the morning and get these fittings, we'll get it going." In he goes, "Hey, I've got them." So, like I said, we worked on it until 12:30 that night. Got it going. 3 days later, he called me and said, "Thank you. Their trip went well. They had AC the whole time, kept her cool, and that was gratification knowing that I was able to help the gentleman." So that's just the service that I'll give you. So if you see the number there, I'll go ahead before we're done here. I'll give you my number. You're welcome to call it at any time.
Okay, so okay, you've been around a lot of air conditioners. So Kristen Gardner asks, what's the best AC unit in your opinion? Who makes the best one? What do you think?
Well, it
Who
depends
do you
on
like?
what
Who do
you're.
you like?
I'm kind of partial. I hate to say it, but I'm kind of partial to Dometic. Dometic, uh, they've got less change. They've got less changes in their schematics and stuff. So it's really kind of easy to work on theirs. Um, Coleman, each year, what I've noticed in their drawings, each year they change their schematic. But now Coleman, though, if you're after something that's extremely low profile, you're not going to get any lower than what Coleman has done. The only problem I see with the Coleman, okay, the difference between a Dometic and a Coleman is Dometics, their shroud covers the top of the AC. The Coleman units now, their their condensing fan is right on top of the AC. So your electrical box is right underneath the fan. And I actually had a gentleman that was in North Carolina when they had the big hurricanes there a while back, and so he turned his air conditioner on during that storm. His electrical box was literally underwater when he did that, and I asked him to send me his capacitor. It actually blew the guts of the capacitor out. That's the only thing I've got against the Coleman units is their electrical box is exposed because of that fan being straight up to atmosphere.
Okay, so here's a quick question. I have a cycle back here. I saw that David Oz, Ozan, something like that. He says, "Are there instructions on how to modify the switch setup with the kits?" The switch setup. What do you think that
Switch.
means? I'm not sure. The switch setup, David. If you'll,
There's no.
yeah,
We're
no,
not.
no.
We're not doing anything with any switches.
Yeah, if you want to just sling me another thing here and expand on that a little bit and say what you mean, we'll try to help. But right now, I don't know what that means. Let's see. So Michael Bracewell, travel trailer guy, do you know how many amps are drawn at startup and amps down to with a 2016 Coleman 13.5 BTU air conditioning unit? Do you have any numbers at the top of your head, or is that something we can research for later?
Typically, startup is anywhere from 30 to 55 amps. Startup running amps. You've got okay. This is something people also need to understand. You got a compressor that's running 12, anywhere from 12 to 13 amps. You now Dometic uses a single motor to for the condenser fan and for the evap fan, which is what you've got inside. That fan motor pulls about 3 amps. So you add those two together, you're right at 15 amps. Coleman, that is one thing that I do like about theirs is your compressor is the normal 13, 12 to 13 amps, but their condenser fan pulls 1.8 amps and the evap fan is only pulling 1.3 amps. So but it still evens out pretty close. So you're figure you're running normally about 15, 16 amps. But with the soft start, that takes that down so that you're able to run that 13.5. I've set guys up and with a 13.5 and run it off of a 15 amp breaker. I wouldn't recommend running it off the 15 amp breaker permanently, but a 20 amp breaker, it'd run it all day long.
Okay, so David has cycled back to us and he says, I have a switch that changes which air conditioner is operating. So that's what he wants to know about. Remember, he asked the question, will you have instructions on how to modify the switch? Does that make sense?
Yes, I know what he's talking about now, and I don't know why. I don't know why they did that. I don't have anything for that. Um, I just don't understand why they did that. If he wants to, I'll give him my number, and he can call me, and we can work this out. I love problems like this. This is my background as an engineer. Give me a problem. Hey, I won't sleep until I figure it out.
This is like a dog with a bone, just worrying that bone.
Oh, that's something that just I keep a pad of paper and a pen next to my bed, and if things hit me in the middle of the night, I got to get up and write it down. And my wife thinks that I'm a little bit off, but hey, I made bombs for a living, so that tells you I'm off anyway.
Okay, so here's one from the Great White North. Rick says, being from Canada, will Danny ship to a US based RV park when I order one or two soft start RVs? I would pay by Visa in US dollars. So he wants to pay for them from Canada. They're going to convert it to US dollars and they're going to ship to an American site. What do you think? This going to work?
Well, we ship to Canada, but yeah, I don't see why it wouldn't. If you're gonna be in a campground, I don't care where you're from. We'll ship them to you.
We'll take your
I've
money from
I've
anywhere.
actually
PayPal's great.
yeah. Hey, okay. Here's the thing: if your soft start was to go bad, I ask you, hey, where are you at? How long are you gonna be there? And if it doesn't match what I can do, I ask you, tell me where your next stop is. And if you're going to light there for a couple days, okay, we can, and I told him, hold on, I'll be right back. I call the office and ask them to overnight ship one or, maximum 2-day delivery. And I tell them when you get there, when you check in, ask for your package. You should have a soft start waiting for you.
Okay.
So in a case like that, I don't see why it would not work.
Okay, so we have a lull in the questions. Would you like to go back to one of the other schematics and just talk about
Yeah,
that for a couple
yes,
minutes?
I want to go just so that they understand. Let's go to the 613 first.
The Coleman Mach connections?
Yes, the Coleman Mach connections is
Got
613.
it. There you be.
Coleman is okay. Coleman, let's see. Okay, Coleman. Okay, like I told you, all air conditioners have a compressor they all have run capacitors. But Coleman has decided to use a terminal board, which is okay. But if this particular schematic shows you, they kind of went to, they ran it from the compressor, your white wire from your compressor, went to the C terminal of the capacitor. Yeah, that was all straightforward. Same thing with your red wire. But on that one, what they did is they ran a red wire over from down to the terminal of the Herm terminal, but then they also ran a red wire over to what is called the PTCR. And PTCR is a small little black uh, component on your relay board. Some of them would, in some models, they actually put those directly on top of your start capacitor. And PTCR stands for Protective Thermal Coefficient Resistor. And we would disable that. But so in the case of this one here, what you do is you remove that PTCR from the board. You've got your red compressor wire on there. You take and put the red compressor wire back on the terminal the PTCR just came off of. You do have a start capacitor, which is to the right of that where it says PTCR on the board. You disconnect that, you tape it, you drop it, and you put your yellow soft start wire there. Then you go over and you find your black compressor wire, which would be down at the bottom where it said PUR on your board. You disconnect that from the board. You plug that in just like you did with your blue wire on the brisk design. You plug that into your brown wire to the black wire, and then put the red soft start wire onto the terminal where it said PUR. Your install is done. It's always 6 steps.
Okay, so let's cycle back for a second. So I have Kathy Carter. Be cautious though, it's talking about having the stuff shipped to them. Some campgrounds do not allow deliveries to campers. And I've heard of that. They've actually kicked people out because they said, we're not going to accept deliveries. I think it's a little crazy. Have you encountered any of that, Danny?
I have not run into that issue yet. Yeah, I know some campgrounds get kind of funny about that. But I mean, if you're going to, and I don't know, we could probably work something out. I mean, I haven't done it, but there is no length that I won't go to help you out.
Yeah. So here's okay. So here's an unsolicited testimonial. So Trevor, I am from Canada. I purchased one 2 weeks ago and got it in 5 days. Great. Can't install until after the snow is gone. 2.5 feet. Ugh.
That's no problem. No problem. Like I said, when we're done here, I'll put my number up. Doesn't matter when.
Right. Yeah, you
I've
get it
actually
when.
got.
Yep. When does the snow melt in Canada?
Well, I got news for you. I've got a guy that's up in Alaska. I started dealing with him probably, I guess it was around September, something like that. He's got my number. I did give him the schematic. And I told him, well, when you can get back up there, don't worry about it. Call me. We'll go through it. My offer to everybody is, you've got my number, you've got my name, call me. And if you're traveling through, hey, you're welcome to give me a call. If you were traveling through El Paso, call me. I'll tell you which exit to get off of. There's a Lowe's parking lot there. I'll come down and I'll install it for you.
Okay, so Rick has said the reason why he was talking about getting it shipped to a USA campground is my reason is for asking is only because I have paid outrageous customs brokerage fees for other items
Ah,
shipped from the US.
yes. Okay. Good point. Good point. Does he have any friends that live down here?
Canada's a friendly place, man. You got to have some friends down here in the USA somewhere. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think part of the idea of what Soft Start RV is offering is a service, not just a product. If you need help, they'll provide help. If you need a way to ship it, they'll find a way to ship it. If you have a question on some specialty type of connection they've never seen before, they'll draw you a schematic. That makes them smarter too, because I'm sure Danny keeps a copy of every schematic that he's drawn up, right? You just don't do one and done and throw it away. I'm sure you hang on
No,
to it then.
no. I actually encourage people, do me a favor. Send me your schematic. I study them. But what you'll see in my schematics, like the ones we posted up here, a normal schematic has like 3 times more wires than you're seeing here. My schematics are drawn so that it takes some of the intimidation out of it because you're only going to touch the wires I tell you to touch. Um, Now, here's another thing. And one poor gentleman I had said, look, he goes, an RV place wants to charge me an arm and a leg to have this thing installed. I went, okay, yeah, I know. And he said, but I can't find anybody that'll install it for me. I said, okay, I haven't seen a problem yet. And he says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, I guess there's only one thing left to do. I said, if you can count from 1 to 6 and you know colors, you're going to do the install. And he's, well, I said, come on, you can do it. Anyway, so I told him, there's one thing that I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to wait until we're done. I said, then I'll tell you what you shouldn't do. And he went, okay. So we went through, we were going through it, and I try to like to make the mood light. I like to play around with people. I love talking to people from all over. So we're going along, and he goes, okay, next. I said, dude, you're out of wires. Your install is done. You've been done. And he says, okay, well, you told me you were going to tell me something I shouldn't do. I said, well, that capacitor, it's got a C terminal and the Herm terminal. You don't want to touch those both at once because it'll make your hair stand straight up. And the guy says, oh, if you'd have told me that, I never would have touched this. I said, that's why I didn't tell you.
That's right, man. You don't want to know. You don't want to know. Oh, so here's a great
Now,
question here. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I've seen videos out there, and they do tell you that you can take an insulated screwdriver, make sure your power's off, and put an insulated screwdriver between those two terminals. It will short it out. It'll discharge it. But I have learned a long time ago on older capacitors, sometimes they don't like that, and you can short your capacitor out. So basically, when you do these installs, I suggest using a pair of needle nose pliers to gently pull them up. It gives you a little more leverage on the fitting when you're doing it, because man, they're on there good and tight. And you've got really, as far as taking it apart, you're with the insulated pliers. It makes it easier so you don't worry about touching anything. And then putting it back on, you can get in there with your fingers and get it at least started on there and then push it down on there tight with the pliers. So the chances of hitting the two terminals, because you've got generally 4 terminals up there and you've always got at least one open. So the chances of hitting the two terminals are slim. But it does bite if you do touch it.
Okay, so here's a good question. Sean Rafferty. I joined late this evening, so please disregard it. No, this is a new question. Is there any benefit to install a soft start on a mini split AC unit? I know mini splits are getting really, really common. What do you think?
It's going to be the same. I mean, the split, yeah, it doesn't matter. An AC is an AC. It's going to help any AC. And the splits, I mean, I don't know at this point how many manufacturers are really going to do that. I requested this years ago when I was working with Dometic, and the answer to it, and some of the manufacturers that I was getting, the RV manufacturers, was, yeah, they don't really want to do that because that means they got to run copper wires up the end. They don't want them exposed on the outside because they're too vulnerable to things hitting them, people doing doing things. So they didn't want to run them on the outside. It's going to take a lot more copper. It's going to take a lot more refrigerant. So the split systems that they were looking at, that's why they were against them. The new ones, I have not seen how they're doing these now, but it's
I'm
still an
getting ready
AC.
to install one myself at my house, so I'm going to find out real quick in a couple of weeks. Okay, so here's a two-parter. Tim said, do I need to remove the PTCR from a circuit board, or is there a connector from the board? And then he follows up with, where did he say that? Here it is. PCTC, positive temperature coefficient thermistor, I guess. Do you need to pull that
Yeah,
off?
yeah, yes. You carefully remove that from the board. You put that in a safe place in the trailer, in a drawer somewhere, because if you have to go back to factory settings, you have to have that, or your AC will not start. So you just remove that from the board. You take the wire, your red wire, off of there and put it directly back on the terminal that came off of. To the right of that, there's going to be a single red wire. That is your start capacitor wire. That you remove, tape the end of it, and drop it. You don't have to remove any other wires. That's why I said there's only 6 steps to this. You tape the end of that wire, you drop it. That way it's accessible if you ever need to go back. Your yellow soft start wire would go on the terminal where the start capacitor red wire is. It's easy as that.
Okay, so we're winding down. I've got a couple of thank yous. So Michael Bracewell, the travel trailer guy, I just want to say to Danny, thank you for your excellent customer service. The world needs more people like you. How you like that?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. We have one from Mick Fraley. It says, thanks, both of you. Excellent information. And thank you. I love helping people as well. I've had a 50-year run here so far of doing all kinds of electrical stuff. And I love spending time answering questions, as does Danny.
Yes. I don't know if there's a way you can do that, but if you'd like, if you've got a way of writing my phone number down and putting it up, they're more than welcome. Any questions they can come up with, any problems. I actually have a gentleman that I'm working with now. This doesn't even relate to the soft start. He's got a problem where his thermostat,
okay, Danny, I think I'll tell you what I can do. Give me your phone number. I'm gonna replace your name with your phone number underneath here. How's that? What's your phone number?
Sure. 915
235
6056.
6056. Yep. Let me see. Did that work? Is that you?
Yep.
So
that's it.
Okay, that's the Bob Seger song. Feel Like a Number, right?
Yep.
Okay, so there
24 24/7. Give it a call.
Okay, let's see. He says, okay, one thing Trinidad Dave notes, and this is what I'm seeing on mine at least. He says mini split compressors are DC motors. Some of them are, in fact, some of the newest ones that I've got. It looks like
Yes.
it is, in fact, an inverter DC motor with its own little world of ramp ups and everything. So that's not going to be relevant for that, for
That
this sort of
no,
thing.
that would yeah, that would the soft start wouldn't work on that one.
Right. Oh, let's see. So we got more stuff here as we're winding down. We get a thumbs up from Sean Rafferty. Uh, Kathy says, echo what others have said. Thank you, Danny. Thank you, Mike, for setting this up. Excellent. We appreciate that. Trevor says, thanks from the frozen north. I may be in touch when things warm up. Yeah, well, all
The
of
number's
us,
there.
numbers there. All of us are hoping. We're hoping for that.
Hey, I wish he wouldn't share his weather with me.
Oh man, keep it up there. Keep
Yeah.
keep
Hey,
keep it up there. Wow. Wow.
I'm not used to that kind of stuff this far south.
Yeah. I know many years ago I was down in Alabama, on a seminar tour, and I think they had about a quarter of an inch of snow, and they really didn't know how to deal with it. People were spinning off and crashing into each other and all kinds of
Hey,
other things.
El Paso, we typically, if we were lucky, we get 5 inches of rain a year.
Right.
Uh, so therefore, if you drop a drop of water on the freeway, you're going to cause 100-car pileup because they would spin out on that drop of water. And right now, with this weather here that we're having right now, let's see, today's weather. It was Monday. No, it was Saturday. Saturday went down to 5 degrees here, and then we had 30-mile-an-hour winds on top of that. I'm like a bird. I head south. I'm ready to go further south than this.
Okay, so Trinidad Dave says, cannot wait for that phone number. The phone number's right there. You can go back and look for it. Oh, now someone wants your email. Okay, can you give that to me? You want me to stick that down on the screen, or is it simple enough?
Sure, you can do that. Sure, it's easy. Danny dot Rahner, Rahner at yahoo.com.
Let me see what I can do here. DANNY dot RAHNER at
yahoo.com.
YAHOO.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
There you go. Is that correct?
That is correct.
See, man, I took exactly one typing class back in high school because I thought it was an easy class and I played keyboards and piano already. And I can touch type. How you like that? Not bad, huh?
Not bad at all.
Okay, so there's just a couple of quickie questions here, and then we're going to wrap it up. Les Elmore says, on the Coleman Mach 15 installation instructions, step 6 says to cut the wire. Is there an update to this so you don't cut the wire?
Yes. I ask him to call me. I will tell him what he needs to do. I do not put that up for reasons that the manufacturers see this. I don't want them crying.
Okay, so Trevor also asks, do you take text on that phone number for Danny? Is that your cell phone number?
Do. Yes, I do. All day long.
Text all day long. Okay, it's coming up on almost quarter after. My actual Nixie tube, you can't see this, but I mean, I've got this really cool digital Nixie tube stuff, Russian tubes from the 70s sitting on my desk here. My wife got me for Christmas. I actually have it synced up to WWV, so it's within a fraction of a second of real time. This is the best of fun technology. I can't help myself. Lava lamps, Nixie tubes, rock and roll microphones. That's what I do.
Hey, I just so that everybody knows, hey, I do installs all day long. I've done them during dinner at a restaurant. My wife loves that.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight. Is there any last minute instructions or anything you want to tell people? Call you if you have a
I just
question,
want
right?
I
Email?
just call me, and there's no question that's dumb. There's no question. I love problems. You got a problem, I'll do it. I've got RV techs that they're not even installing the soft start, but they'll call me for AC problems. So call me.
Okay, so Tim asked a question. I'm going to ask him to call you about this. He says, I agree. In instructions, it says to cut in certain spots. If you've got
Yes.
questions about cutting wires, call him and he'll help you walk through that. And I,
Like I said, I do not like cutting wires. The simple thing is just so that you know, so it could be your blue wire, your black wire, which would be your C wire of your compressor. Though one of those, your blue or black is one that would have got cut. So instead of cutting that wire, you go up, take your compressor cap off, you take the black or blue wire off of the overload, and you, instead of the, like the instructions say, put a brown wire on the put a male on the brown soft start wire. Instead, you would put a female. And on your red compressor, on the red soft start wire, instead of put in a female, you would put a male. So your female brown wire would go on top of the overload where your blue or black wire was. Your red soft start is going to go into your blue or black compressor wire. That way you do not cut wires.
very good. Okay, so I'd just like to thank Danny for spending an hour and 16 minutes here with us tonight. He's at his home thing here, so he's doing this on his own time. I really appreciate that. I want to thank rvtravel.com for helping publicize this, and we'll see that if you have more questions. Follow up with Danny. Maybe in a couple of months in the spring when it thaws out, we'll have him back again to answer some more questions. And certainly, sling me any, ideas for more of these Ask the Expert things. Anything you like, I'm here for you. Danny, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure. My goal is to make sure I make it as simple as possible for people to install this, and be as accessible as possible, so that I'm always here for them.
All right. Very good. Thank you all. Good night to everybody and stay warm out there. See y'all later.
Have a good night.